Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay, or would you like me to use the mic? We're all right, good. I'm Kyle Cludio. I have the honor of serving as Superintendent of Schools, and this is
Miguel Andrade, School Business Administrator.
So we will be presenting the budget tonight and kind of, being the host. So we had the ability today to speak with our political science class today, taught by Mrs. Dunlap, specifically about the budget, and they asked some really good questions. It was a really good tune-up for us, so we are ready for you tonight. Our agenda is this. I am doing the welcoming, and then we're going to host the board candidates. We'll be doing that in alphabetical order by last name. Came to my attention today that in the newsletter we had all 6 candidates in there, but we didn't actually put in there that the 6 candidates are vying for 3 seats. So we have 3 board members that their terms are up. So we have 6 candidates, 3 will be elected. I wanted to say we had our hearing for the NYSERDA project back in February. One of the things that came from this style meeting was an attention to utilize our community resources to get information out, specifically the libraries. I'll say Miguel and I had the ability to visit the libraries a couple times to drop off a couple batches of information. That was newer information to me, and I felt like we were able to kind of take that to heart and utilize it a little bit more. We do plan on hosting questions. We'll save questions for the end. Questions for the budget, not necessarily the candidates. The candidates will just come up and give their statements. So we will have the Board of Ed candidates come up, and the first one will be Shannon Brock.
Good evening to everyone in the audience and to those watching at home. My name is Shannon Brock, and I have been a member of the South Seneca Board of Education for the past 3 years. I've also been our district's representative to the TST BOCES board in Ithaca for the past 4 years. I'm the owner and manager of a vineyard in Lodi, New York, and a resident of Lodi and the parent of 2 South Seneca Falcons, one who recently graduated and one who is in high school. Before moving to this area about 20 years ago, I was a 6th grade elementary school teacher for 5 years, and I earned a master's degree in school administration, although I never became a school principal as I had originally planned. I volunteer my time and energy to the school board because I want our South Seneca students to have the best opportunities possible. Through lots of new board member training and experiences during my first term, I've learned that the highest performing school districts have a board that works together with the superintendent to set and achieve goals. That can only happen with a board that works as a team and provides oversight without overstepping their bounds. I have shown over the past 3 years that I'm a solid team player. I have positive and professional relationships with my fellow board members, even when we disagree. I come prepared, ask questions, and advocate for students. There are a lot of exciting things happening in South Seneca. We have a new superintendent who's leading the way on fiscal responsibility, school culture, and community involvement. Our elementary school is implementing the science of reading curriculum to improve student achievement. Our high school students have great opportunities to pursue both early college, vocational, and technical education right here at our high school and at TST BOCES. We also have exciting and engaging after-school activities for students in K through 12, including clubs, sports, music, and drama. Over the next 3 years, the South Seneca Board of Education will face many challenges due to declines in enrollment, uncertain state funding, teacher shortages, and rising costs. It's very important for you, the voters, to make your voice heard and select a board that will set our school on a successful path. Public schools are our community's investment in the future. I humbly ask for your vote to help make the future bright for our South Seneca students. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Brenda Eastman.
I love using a microphone. Everything that I've put into the pamphlet, I'm not going to go over all of that. It's really, if you haven't read it, take a look at it. Everyone has gotten one. I've, of course, served over about 34-year period. I've served about 30 of those years and have done numerous things as a board member. I advocate for the district taxpayers. I advocate for the parents of children that go to our school. And I've always been tried to be an impartial person when it comes to make decisions that are based on fact. If we can clearly get those, thoroughly looking through the process of whether it's doing the budget or talking about something that's more personal. I see that I believe that we have an opportunity to look at more consolidation in our district, whether it means physical or the way that we put some of our teams together or our grades together, elementary, middle school, high school. And I'm most concerned, and didn't put it in my budget hearing, is that we have not had for many years now, probably more than 15 to 16 years, we've had no curriculum mapping. So I would be an advocate for curriculum planning. Everyone in second grade teaching needs to know what they need to plan for their third grade teachers. And I am very hopeful that the new Science of Reading program that's been initiated for the last 2 years, and as a result of one of our new candidates, and the former librarian of the Lodi Library, worked with the school staff, getting that through MTSS and, getting that all done. So I encourage you to all get out and vote, to your neighbors to get out and vote for the best 3 candidates. And I'd appreciate one for me. Thank you.
All right, next up, Gerald Frank.
Hello, my name is Jerry Frank. I'm almost a local resident of Ovid. We moved here in '78, but I wasn't born here. I taught for 30 plus years up in the Waterloo area. I taught in Buffalo before that. I have a master's in education, art education, and we were working toward our administration papers. Unfortunately, we decided that we would rather teach than administrate, and so we just stuck it out. As Brenda was saying, curriculum is one of the most important things that a school board can have the teachers work on. Whether it's grade school, high school, special areas, everybody should be knowing what the scope and sequence would be about for their kids. And the teachers would know when they have achieved those goals. I can honestly say that if you vote for me, I'll work with anybody on the board to achieve the goals that the board has set. Other than that, have yourself a great afternoon and evening.
All right, up next, Peter Jennings.
Everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right. Good evening. I'm Peter Jennings, lifelong resident of the community, parent of 6 children across our district. I believe deeply in the responsibility we all share to provide the best possible education for every student while maintaining a strong sense of community that makes this district special. That begins with open, respectful communication among all stakeholders: parents, students, teachers, staff, administrators, and the broader community. We may not always agree on every issue, but we should always be transparent, accessible, willing to listen to one another. Asking questions, requesting information, reviewing data, and seeking clarity is not adversarial. It is part of the board's responsibility and essential to good governance. The Board of Education has an important role in setting priorities, creating and funding positions, establishing policy, ensuring fiscal responsibility. Administration then carries out those priorities through implementation and recommendations. A successful district depends on a healthy working relationship between the board and administration, built on communication, accountability, and mutual respect. Ensuring that decisions are supported by accurate information, aligned with district goals, and made with both student and taxpayers in mind is how a board operates effectively and in the best interests of the community. When it comes to programming, I'm committed to maintaining excellence while continuing looking for opportunities to improve and grow. That means supporting strong academic achievement while also recognizing the student's success looks different for every child. We must continue expanding opportunities in the arts, athletics, career and technical education, extracurricular activities, and pathways that prepare students for college, trades, military service, and the workforce. Every student deserves opportunity to discover their strengths and pursue their goals after graduation. Equally important is supporting and retaining our teachers and staff. My commitment is that we do everything possible to avoid layoffs. If reductions ever become necessary, I believe we should first pursue them through natural attrition. Retirements, resignations, and thoughtful long-term planning rather than disrupting the lives of dedicated employees and the continuity of our classrooms. At the same time, we must continue looking for responsible ways to manage costs through operational efficiencies, careful budgeting, long-term planning, and identifying savings in non-instructional areas that staffing is not the first place we turn. Finally, our community expects and deserves responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars. That means balancing educational excellence with long-term fiscal responsibility, planning carefully for the future, and making decisions that protect both program and taxpayers. My priority is to ensure we remain fiscally responsible while protecting the programs and opportunities that define our district. The balance is not always easy, but it is essential. I'm interested in doing the work thoughtfully, collaboratively, and with the best interests of our students and community at heart. Thank you.
All right, up next, we have Jody Latini.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me if I don't use the mic? Because I do not enjoy using the microphone. So I am Jody Latini, a candidate for the Board of Education, and I am a forever Falcon, as Steve Zielinski would have said. I graduated from South Seneca in 1994, and since that time have done a few things, even though that was just a few years ago. And some of those have been in education. I have been a parent volunteer and the head of PTO. I've been a teacher aide in the classroom with high needs. I've been a teacher. I've been an MTSS coordinator. I'll talk about that in a moment. And I've been a union representative. And currently I'm a principal in another district. And so I am excited at the opportunity to continue to come back home to South Seneca. if the voters so choose, and continue to support our teachers, our staff, and our administration in helping our students reach their potential, and reach their potential in a future that we cannot imagine today. So some of the ways that I have begun to support that over my career at South Seneca, as Mrs. Eastman indicated, I, in my role as MTSS coordinator, was, I don't want to say a leader, but I was a collaborator with the elementary team in bringing the science of reading to South Seneca. And I also was a collaborator in bringing social emotional learning curriculum to both the elementary and the high school. And we also really implemented some data-driven practices, and I was able to provide the board with some more concrete data than we had been looking at up until that time. So as a candidate, I would endorse that we continue to support those initiatives. In my time in education and fulfilling different roles, what I've learned is that every single person who is interacting with students and is in a support role is vital to the futures of our children. And in my role as an administrator, I see my most important job is to support our teachers and our staff in supporting students. And I think that is the foundation of what the Board of Education needs to do. The board sets policy, the board sets tone, and the board sets the climate for the entire school system. And so, as we've heard many of our candidates talk about tonight, that needs to be respectful, it needs to be based on transparency, and it needs to be based on welcoming voices that don't necessarily agree with us to the table to express their concerns and to express their point of view, again, in a respectful and welcoming climate. And I think that is, if we start with that, that's what is going to lead us through the next 3 years. If you're familiar and you're living in the world of education now, you know that the outlook is that the next few years are going to be, they're going to have some hard decisions ahead of us, right? But if we're making them together as a community with the best interests of our students at heart, we will be doing our due diligence. So thank you for the opportunity, and I would urge you to come out and vote for the candidates that you feel will fulfill your vision for South Seneca in the coming years. Thank you.
And next we have Rachel Clue-Pepperell.
I'm also going to forgo the mic if you can hear me. My name is Rachel Clue-Pepperell. I am an alumni of South Seneca. I graduated in 2000. I left the area for about 10 years and did my graduate work and got my PhD in French in the University of Georgia. Moved back to South Seneca when my daughter was 4 because as an alumni of South Seneca, I really saw, as I was out in the world, how much I benefited from the small student to teacher ratio, from the community atmosphere that we have, where everyone knows who you are, which can be a good or a bad thing. But in the end, it really works to support students when they see their teachers sort of out in the world with them. And I wanted my daughter to have that experience as she was going through school. So she's a student at South Seneca. She's in the high school. She is active in the music, drama, and arts programs. At the same time, I have been working first at Ithaca College, now at TST BOCES. This is my 21st year in education. I also spent time in the Trumansburg School District. And if elected to the Board of Education, I bring the perspective of not only a lifelong resident, but an educator with a variety of experiences. So as a French professor, I had the opportunity to design and implement curriculum and was responsible for assessment as well, and reporting that assessment to my colleagues to go to the Middle States to maintain our accreditation for Ithaca College. As a high school teacher, of French and now ELA. I am responsible for much the same thing, preparing innovative curriculum, implementing it in the classroom, and then using data to make sure that what I'm doing is solid, right? And so this comes in part from my background in research. So elected to the Board of Education, as an educator and a researcher, I bring the skill of thorough preparation, perhaps sometimes a bit too thorough, but I like to ask good questions. I like to make sure that I have all of the information from everyone before I can make decisions. I also believe in the professionalism of teachers, and much as Jody said, sort of building our faculty, our staff, our administrators, everyone from our bus drivers to our superintendent, they all have contact with kids every day, right? And so making sure that we recognize the value in every single person that walks through the door, making sure that our environment is welcoming and affirming, that our curriculum is rigorous, and that we are making sure that all students are reflected in their curriculum and in their learning experiences. I didn't actually write a wrap-up. So I would greatly appreciate your vote, but encourage you, regardless of who you would like to vote for, to vote, because that's the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you to our candidates. If you don't public speak every day, it's not always the easiest thing, so I appreciate all your efforts that go into coming to speak to the community, both that are present and on the live stream. So we are going to hop into the budget.
Thank you, Kyle. Good evening, everyone. Attendees. All right, so today's budget hearing, we're going to go through some slides about the preparation of the budget, and at the end, we're going to wrap it up with the propositions and the announcement of the vote, which is next week, next Tuesday. So budget and legislative updates as of May 7th. Again, there's just been a whole bunch of weekly extensions, so people can still work on, people at the legislature still work on the budget. As of today, we have not heard any news. We're still pushing on with the budget that we have. There's no news. We have no clue when the New York State will finally adopt a budget. Again, to remind you, April 1st was the cutoff for a budget. We are on May 12th and no word yet. So, governors just, they announced a tentative budget agreement, but the legislative came right out and said, no, stop, don't say that, we're not even close. So, to go over some current conditions and the revenues, again, some of the slides, you've probably already seen them in the many meetings that we have had in the past. Foundation aid increase of 1%, equivalents to 96,206. That's just a 1% increase compared to last year, which was 2%. Other aids that make up New York State aid is BOCES and transportation aid. Those increase based on expenses from the prior year. The increase in building aid is attributed to the adjustment to debt service and the NYSERDA project. Our plan here at South Seneca is to strategically rely on reserves and appropriated fund balance to balance the budget. And just to point out that CPI came at 2.63 at the time of the tax cap calculation, which limits our potential to raise revenue, and therefore we came at a tax cap of 2.26. The 2.25 at the end is a 15-year average of the tax cap calculation. Now from the other side of the coin, we're looking at current conditions for expenditures. Certain things that we want to spend next year is the capital outlay. Those are small projects that we do every year. We get building 81.5% return on that. We have on the books. We have to consider contractual obligation based on the many bargaining agreements. That ranges from anywhere from 4% to 4.5% for next year. We also have to consider benefits. One of the benefits is TRS and ERS. Those are coming in at 8.25 TRS to as high as 17% for ERS members. Our health insurance finally settled on the rates last month. It came in at 9.75% increase, individual and family. Fuel prices are still locked in between $2.04 to $3.08. Teacher associations and TAG are currently in negotiation as we speak. And just to remind everybody, the current year budget that we're living right now is $28,213,993. Good. All right, so to recap on South Seneca's plan, we're going to maintain 25-26 budget projections with savings added to the appropriated fund balance if we have some at the end of the year. Go out at the levy of 2.26%. Continue to pre-purge anywhere we can for savings purposes on 26-27 items using the remaining budget for this year. We will continue to use federal funding where appropriate to offset expenses. We continue to monitor the market to make strategic investments. We plan aggressively for 27-28 and beyond. And again, strategically use our reserves and fund balance for long-term planning. Any additional state aid revenues not in the projections will be used to be able to appropriate for next year's 27-28 budget. And of course, we'll continue to review department budgets and compare them to actual expense and project expenses going forward, based on market changes.
And I think it's important to note that third bullet where we're trying to pre-purchase some items for the next school year this spring. I mean, I think we all realize in the economy today, everything costs more tomorrow than it does today. I mean, I paid a lot less for gas last week than I did this morning. So we're just trying to pre-purchase some of those items with budget monies that we have allocated in hopes that we can get them at a better price instead of paying the more expensive price in the future.
Correct. This slide right here is the budget comparison, the revenue side of it. This is New York State. As you can see, it's made up of many components. And on the far right-hand side, you can see that the legislative was supposed to settle between March and April. And as of today, there's no solid numbers. So we plan out to go at the governor's estimates, 14,689,452 at the bottom. As you can see, these aids are made up of foundation aid, BOCES, hardware and technology, UPK, high cost access costs, private access costs, and transportation, including Summit. There's the building aid as well. All those numbers make up the total at the bottom. We have to pull out UPK, and now we are at 14,689,452. The other side of one of the other two major components of the revenue side is the tax cap calculation. This calculation is made up of 8 items. Bottom line, we're allowed to increase the tax cap by 2.26%, which is $210,540, which takes the levy up to $9,514,365. So with those numbers together, our projection of other revenues, debt service fund, appropriated fund balance, and applied reserves, we come to a budget of $29,391,320. And you can see on the bottom what the applied reserve estimates are for that make up that $1.240. We're going to be using some EBLAR. We probably can use some capital reserves for buses. Our ERS and TRS will be strategically used as well, and so unemployment if claims do come through. Here's a pie slide for the folks that like these things. As you can see, New York State aid is at 50% of our aid. Local taxes are 32%. All other reserves or just revenues are about 4% to 6%.
And I think this slide really highlights, we really rely on our state aid. A lot of districts our size do, and as the state ends up giving, typically 1%, but they keep talking about pulling that back based on actual enrollment, because right now those aid projections are based off like projections from 20, 25 years ago when we were at some of our higher numbers. So we keep trying to advocate at the state level for, keeping the state aid, keeping those valuations, and then our responsibility on the district side is to find those savings, look to see how we can be more responsible for those dollars. But, this is, when we were actually showing this type of slide to the students earlier today, and they had great questions around, how do you provide savings? And Miguel has talked about like state aid, building aid, transportation aid. Every dollar we spend at BOCES, we get back 47.5%, which is relatively, for our BOCES, we're one of the lower ones. A district like Newfield gets back 76.5%, or approximately there. So depending on the district's combined wealth ratio and other factors, kind of goes into that. But we have some opportunity to find those savings, and like we're actually able to do some of our purchasing directly through BOCES and at state contract prices. So we're working hard to make those dollars go as far as possible.
All right, so now that we have spoken about the revenue side, we're going to be talking about the expenditure. 25-26, again, it's at $28,213,993. The proposed budget coming out next Tuesday for the voters to vote on, $29,391,320. That equivalents to 4.17% increase budget to budget. In the next slide, we present the proposed budget in the three categories that New York State requires to present. One of them is the administration, the second one is capital, and the third one is program. These are the expenses compared to this 26-27 to 25-26. As you can see that for the administration, it decreased by $13,496. Capital increased to $741,730. That's really direct by the geothermal debt service increase that we have to put in the books, which is our reserve that we had to pay that debt. And total programs went up a little shy of $500,000 compared to last year. Total budget increase, $1.1 million, 4.17%.
And just to build up what he was saying, so our budget increased as, with the geothermal NYSERDA project as part of it, but what we're asking from taxpayers is not increased. That approximately $1 million that the budget increased, that is specific for our debt service reserve and our capital reserve for capital projects. The money can only be spent on those things, but we still have to account for it directly in the budget. So because it's still an expenditure, the money still has to go out from the district, so we have to account for it. But that part of the budget came specific from reserves that were specifically allocated for those purposes. So we want to just make sure, because we made sure to say in the presentation that there's no additional impact, because that money that's allocated came from money that we already have.
Okay. Here's the pie slide for the 26-27 budget. Administration makes up 12% of the total budget, capital at 20%, and program at 68%.
The program is specific, those are the things that directly impact kids. That's staffing, athletics, curriculum money, all of those things make up the program. Capital is the maintenance, our facilities, all of the things around those pieces, and then administration is exactly what it sounds like. It's all the, That's where all the cost of administrator salaries and all the runnings of the district go into those pieces.
Legal, insurance, all the things that make up for the district expenses. Capital also has the buses in there. So, so just so you know a little bit about what makes up those numbers. All right, this slide right here, maybe Kyle, if you help me out explaining it.
Yeah, so this is actually a really good indicator of what we were just talking about with like the geothermal project and how the money is allocated. So we said in part of that project, no additional tax impact. At some point, years and years ago, probably 20 plus years ago, there would have been some sort of tax impact for a project. I couldn't tell you the year. I haven't looked back that far. But for a long time, even before Mr. Zielinski's time, the district has had part of the budget a $400,000 local share that we've kept steady for a long time, and that particular money is to offset any of the debt service related to projects over the years. You probably have noticed there's been a capital project vote every 3 to 5 years for a long time. That $400,000 has kept that to be no additional tax impact whenever possible. So if you look here, the blue is the debt for any of the projects. The orange is how much money, how much aid we get from the state. So the difference is the 400,000. So this is 400,000. Where it's skinnier, this is where some of the debt drops off. So we don't owe, so there hasn't been that collection of 400,000. That's where we add to the capital reserves and things like that. So here, where it goes back up, it did go up because of the geothermal. That's us spending on debt service, but this is the expected state aid. The difference there is that $400,000 that we've budgeted for and allocated specifically as our local share. I don't know. I wonder if it'll go. So.
Oh, I broke it now. Why did I listen to you?
Sorry.
Just hit escape and then go back in.
Okay, there you go.
I don't know. So that last slide was just that indicator, that spacing between it. It shows here's your debt service, and then the orange line is this is how much state aid we get, because for our projects we get approximately 82% of the money returned in state aid on what we spend. And the thing that helped us out with the NYSERDA project specifically was we also got an additional $6 million plus that offset that even more. So us coming out of pocket for with the debt service reserve and the capital reserve made it so it's able to be fully funded over the life of the project.
And the line down here is your local share. As you can see, it stays steady over the years. The jump is because of the NYSERDA inclusion. It was around here at this level before the vote. And now because of the vote, we have to go increase that up.
And here would have been the bus garage, right?
No, the bus won't be business.
The bus, okay.
Because it just came out of the debt that we paid off, and now we're going to increase it up again.
So it's part of it's going up for the bus garage, then it steps up again, and then within the next couple of years, it'll drop off again. And so this is, so in order for us to keep our districts in good shape and be able to keep up with the maintenance, when we do projects, we try to maintain some level of debt so we can keep up on the work. Because if emergency projects, for example, when the roof of the gym blew off a couple years ago, that was an emergency $1 million project. We did get to claim it on our insurance, but then our insurance went up by $30,000 a year. Or just the claim, the claim cost. So where it used to be at like $10,000 a claim, it went up to $50,000. So
Deductible.
as our deductible. So we went out, we shopped our insurance to get a better rate and get a better deductible. So it's this kind of long game, but we need to make sure that we're maintaining our buildings. Obviously, the original part of this building is 1938. It's not getting any younger. So we need to keep being able to maintain these properties.
Okay, so changing gears, and the next slide here, we're talking about town tax rates. Again, the only actual number that is concrete is the levy. What goes into this calculation are tax equalization or equalization rates from New York State, which are not final as of today and won't be final until June 30th, and the assessments. And those assessments happen in sometime around July. By August, the first meeting in August, we should have the tax rates locked in, with all those figures completed, and then we can finally come to the board, and the board will approve the levy, and then we can start sending this information to our print shop to start printing tax bills. All right, so right now, over here for 25, 26, you should have seen these in your tax bills, if you remember. These right here, you may or may not, these are estimates. But compared to them, we're seeing a 19-cent increase for the town of Culver, 46 cents across Lodi, Ovid, and Romulus. And Hector is going up 27 cents. And that's to 11.76 per 1,000.
Yeah, and each year we try to talk about the equalization rate. That is the state's view of what percent of your home's value you pay in taxes. So they're saying that the town of Culver is fully assessed. They're saying all the Culver homes, what they say for the assessment is full value, where they're saying in Lodi, Ovid, and Romulus that you're paying taxes on what they claim is 42% of the value, or of the assessment value. So, that's what makes the, there's that ratio in there that makes it come up. So if there has been a reassessment, if there things like that would make that number actually go down, the price per thousand.
So a little bit examples about what Kyle just explained about the tax rates and the equalization rates. As you heard, Culver already had recently a tax assessment done, so they're 100%. Their houses are valued by New York State's eye to beat those values. But somewhere in Lodi, there's a $100,000 house that New York State says, no, your house is actually valued at this. So you're going to be getting a bigger chunk of the taxes coming to you. Again, all these are just estimates as of today. They're not 100%. They're done. They're finalized by June 30th. As soon as they come out, I'll update my formulas. And then when the assessments come out in July, by the different towns, I'll reach out to them and I'll get the information from them and put them in the formula. And then by the first meeting in August, the board should have the levy ready. The amount doesn't change. It's just what the tax rate and how the levy is going to be spreading around the towns, the 5 towns, right? In here, some around the block estimated rates. I went with similar size districts enrollment-wise, but then again, I introduced Trumansburg, Newfield, just because of the locality. You can see that we're at 8.77 true value. Surprise Romulus went up to 938. That's what the SBA told me that. But again, these are estimates, So some of these might not be finalized, but I just wanted to point out where we always hover around the bottom line of the tax rate around the area. The highest one is Cananda. Lansing is up there with Seneca Falls and Groton. And we share a spot with Romulus and Red Creek. All right, we have to talk about what if the budget gets voted down. Again, like I explained in my other meeting, we have a few choices, right? we can propose the same budget, resubmit, go to a second vote. We'll do this all over again, the budget hearing. I don't think the board members need to talk again, or the candidates, but whatever. We have to present it again, go through the motions on June 9th, and then vote on June 16th. Another choice that we can do is propose a revised budget with certain changes presented in the budget hearing for June 9th, and have a vote for June 16th, or just go to contingency budget per the board's permission and adoption, which means tax levy increase that we saw a few slides ago will go away. We can increase the levy more than last year, and we probably will have to find cuts of $789,875. For that contingency, there's no vote needed. Like I had explained, the board just directs the superintendent, go to contingency, and then we go to contingency. So what does that look like? On the left-hand side is the regular proposed budget that we're going at, $29,391,000, 4.17% budget to budget increase, added tax increase of 2.26. On the right-hand side is the contingency budget. That number comes out at $28,601,000 at 1.37% budget to budget comparison. Tax levy, 0. We lose the 210,540 calculation in tax cap that we calculated, that we can go above. That goes away. And then on top of that, we need to figure out where we can get $579,325 off the budget. All right, that could mean eliminating equipment purchases. The capital outlay will have to be looked at. Leases, buses, if we have any. Certain supplies might need to be trimmed back down. Salaries will also need to be looked at. Certain agreements not bound by a bargaining agreement could be kept at the same level, no cuts, but just no increases.
Actually, I want to speak more to the proposed budget. So on there, it says maintain current staffing and programming plan. If you listen to the board meetings, we've talked about the possibility of restructuring the library positions and possibly reducing down to 1. So I would say this, it is ongoing. So we have some other personnel related items that if they come to fruition, then we have full intent to keep 2 librarians for the school year. I believe it to be a very good possibility, but it'll kind of unfold in the next couple of weeks. But our goal is anytime we have to reduce staff, it is through attrition. We've just recently had a high school principal take a new position. We have now rehired the high school position. We're working on restructuring the administrative team, and we're looking at those positions across the district. So it's like we do not want to reduce by any current staff. We want to do it by attrition, and I believe we'll be able to do that and maintain two librarians for the 26-27 school year.
All right, next we're going to be talking about the propositions coming up. Proposition number 1 is for the budget approval of $29,391,320. And proposition number 2 is to elect 3 members to the board for a 3-year term commencing July 1st, 2026. Proposition number 3 is for the purchases of up to 1 bus and 1 van, in total of $300,000. And where the funding can come from, either the reserves or fund balance. And the last one is for the libraries. We're bound to collect taxes from the library. This is not something that we propose, it's just that we collect on top of it. And we turn around, and once the collection finishes in November, around November 15, once we reconcile everything there, usually the libraries will reach out and say, send a check, and we do, and we send the checks right away because everybody needs to be, accounted for. So as soon as that happens in the beginning of December, we send out the money for that collection. To finalize the presentation, just want to remind, the vote is happening next Tuesday in Interlaken campus in the auditorium from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Signs will be out, clearly marked, so we'll be using will not be it through the main entrance at the elementary, it'll be through the, I think right into the auditorium, so.
Yeah.
At this time, we'll happily take questions. Donna?
I have a question. In the beginning of the presentation, I saw a spot that said there's negotiations happening,
Yes.
but there was no, it didn't seem like there was any placeholder value assigned to that.
So there
Is that somewhere that in a different spot?
So.
No, I think we go back to.
No, I'm looking, there was a spot that he had
Yes.
mentioned.
The SSTA and the TAC are in negotiations.
Yeah, because the one slide in the beginning I didn't get a picture of because it was hard to see. I was trying to zoom in. It didn't have a placeholder value, so I wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
see
so-
what that was later on.
We've accounted for, just kind of a placeholder value for it. So it's all part of the programming.
We're still in negotiations, so that information is included in the budget.
Oh. Thank you.
Yes.
I am here as a concerned district resident. Hang with me, I'm going to come to the budget issue at the end, but I want to preface that with a few items. We're really blessed in this school district, as has already been stated, to have a very good student-teacher ratio. Students get lunch, students get breakfast, there's no hunger issue. I understand that certain supplies are given across the board to students so that there isn't a sense of students feeling left out because so-and-so has things that I don't have. From my perspective, you have a lovely facility, even if it is a bit aged. You also have a wonderful athletic field. However, I am concerned when I hear about the proficiency levels within the school. Quite frankly, I find them appalling. I mean, 30% for elementary, I find that really sad. It's better for secondary, but it's still nothing to be terribly proud of. And so my question is, as a taxpayer and facing the budget next week, why should I have confidence knowing that my property taxes increased 17% this last year? Why should I have confidence that if I vote for this year's school budget, that the monies will be used effectively to improve core student proficiencies? Therein lies my question.
It's a really good question. And I would say if you looked at our proficiency levels from, last year when we initially got designated as a targeted school, need of intervention, from last spring scores increased over the previous years. But given, they were bad. We had no place to go but up.
Smoke screen.
Yes.
It's gone from really, really bad to just really bad. It's still bad.
But we're working towards trying to get towards good, right? So, right, I agree with you. The scores are bad, but we have to start somewhere. We've made some changes. We actually received targeted school intervention funds. So this year was the first year of our new reading curriculum in the elementary. We're anticipating seeing increased scores based on that. We are on the list again, right, because our scores haven't been good. Next year, so we got $200,000 from the state for the 25-26 school year. Next year, we'll get, it's like $209,000 So we've started working on purchasing the math curriculum. And we're working on going up through 8th grade for both of those. So we're working on that curricular piece to put solid, consistent curriculum in. Because part of it, part of the analysis that was done was there wasn't consistent programming across the grades. Where now we have curriculum in place and our administrators are working on, ensuring fidelity across those levels. So,
And we're using the full amount of the state aid, not state, federal funding, Title I. So that rate of return is better than BOCES, although we are using BOCES for some of these purchases because it's 100%. We get reimbursed by New York State 100% of what we spend. So right now there's a plan. The elementary school is almost towards the end of their first year, and the middle school too. So the funding is being allocated accordingly to where the need is, and we're getting that money back. So that's my part.
I will say, Susan, I 100% agree with your analysis, and I think that's kind of where my frustration comes a little bit as well, especially with some candidates being heavy on the adult, and forgetting the student. I'm a lifelong resident, born and bred here, born and bred my child here. But the school that I loved and grew up with is not here. And that's really hard for me as well, because I see my son not receiving the same education I received, not being held accountable in the same way that I was held accountable for things. And that's a really big concern, I think, for a lot of us voters, is that the emphasis on the education piece is not there. And how can we, I think it does go right back to Susan, how do we see this reflected in the budget? What are you doing to implement new things to accommodate the lower standards, to rise them up? Because it's not, I don't think it is working. I don't think even, from going from really bad to bad, I don't think is going, because we got to really bad. So how are we fixing that, and how is that in this budget?
if it just answered that same type of question, right? Like this, I would say from the point that we were on the list as, let's say, really bad, we've got a new elementary principal. Now we have a new secondary principal, we have a new superintendent. Like, we're collectively working on that. It takes time. So I understand your concern with the confidence of that, but it does take time. We are leveraging those state funds towards new curriculum that, like you've seen the budget, there wasn't a specific spot that called out curriculum. We're utilizing these state funds to leverage that so we don't have to take away experience in other places. We are working with consultants. We're doing all these, we're utilizing all the resources we can to help bring that experience up. We're still trying to provide opportunity experiences to a very rural community that doesn't have a lot of opportunity, right? Like, we don't have a grocery store in our community. There's a lot of things that our community has to travel 30 minutes just to get food, just to get, other resources, and even just to travel, we have to go 30 minutes just to get access to those places. So I would say it's going to be a long process, and I think once we get back, this year's test scores in the fall, we'll see that a more steady increase. Now that we've had a steady year of everybody going in the same direction.
So when you say you see it being a long process, you yourself, you project that this could take how long to get proficiency levels up to a satisfactory point?
I think you can only make so much growth in a year. I don't,
I understand that. I'm asking you yourself, what are you envisioning?
well, we haven't done our spring benchmark testing to see where we were in the fall to where we are in the spring. So I would say I don't necessarily have a great answer for that, but we are hoping to have that data collected in the next few weeks because we're almost to June, so that data will start to be collected in these next couple of weeks.
That's not the question. The question is you as an individual, as the superintendent, as you look at where students are now, when are you hoping that they will arrive at a level that is, well, where they should be? Are you thinking 5 years? Are you thinking 10 years? What are you thinking?
My hope is it's within 5 years. Like I think it takes multiple years in a consistent program to really have success and to show growth. So I would believe, we'll start seeing that each year, and within 5 years, we'll see significant growth. Any other questions? Thank you all for coming to the budget hearing. A reminder, the vote is next week on the 19th from 1 to 8 p.m. in the Interlaken campus auditorium. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.